G'day guys and gal. Warhammer 40k is a very masculine setting. We have roided up space marines, deliciously oiled demigods, and oversized man-children. This combined with the influence of a very male-dominated company means that the hormone of the day is testosterone. Despite this fact, our glorious neckbeard overlords have discovered a way to not only include girls in the setting, but make them flourish. I introduce Space Nuns with Guns. To be honest, I find this is a totally appropriate way to represent women in Warhammer. They wear armor that genuinely looks like it protects them, unlike all other female armor in male-dominated franchises, and they still do really cooked grimdark shit as well. The Sisters of Battle, as well as the Sisters of Silence, perfectly represent and display female super soldiers in the franchise, hence why there are literally no genuine calls for girl space marines. This also might be because there's like 3 girls that play Warhammer, but that part is irrelevant. Now just quickly, before all you lore nerds crack it at me, yes, I'm aware that the Adeptus Soroitas and the Sisters of Battle are not the exact same thing. I know that the Sororitas is the name of the entire organisation, and the Sisters of Battle are the military wing of that organisation. However, I will use the two terms interchangeably because it really doesn't fucking matter. Today we'll go over who the sisters are and where they come from. We'll also look at what they're currently up to and if they're actually hot or ugly as shit. Before we get started though, we are so close to a massive Patreon goal of mine, which will result, for better or for worse, the production of 2 calendars. One featuring me and a hot naked chick, and the other one featuring custom Warhammer hentai, made by 12 distinct hentai artists with their own unique styles. So far I have 3 of those artists, so if you are a hentai artist or you know one, then shoot me through the details and I'll look at getting something commissioned through them/you. Only $1 on Patreon helps me out a shitload and give you guys access to a lot of naughty goodies, so please consider it if you enjoyed the video. Let's get into it. The Sisters of Battle, Brides of the Emperor, Adeptus Soroitas, Bolter Bitches, Nuns with Guns, or simply the Dominatrixes, are a relatively new faction that formed due to some religious people doing typical religious stuff, as well as a cheeky bugger exploiting a legal loophole. We haven't really covered much of the mid-30th millennium on this channel because all the exciting shit is either happening now or 10,000 years ago, but the Sisters were a highlight of it, so we get to learn a bit about it today. The Imperium, despite being a unified empire, is a very divided place. All the political parties, the Inquisition, the Administorium, the Ecclesiarchy, the Astartes, the Mechanicus, they all vie for varying degrees of political and physical power within the Imperium. This all came to a head when some dick called George Van Dyer was able to lie, manipulate and assassinate until he became the head of the Ecclesiarchy and the Ministerium, making him the most powerful man in the Imperium. He exploited religion to basically drive half of humanity into a violent, zealous rage. Overall he sucked, but due to the Astartes and Mars, the other 2 most powerful organisations, not really giving a shit about people, he was allowed to continue his bullshit. The Custodians also didn't really care, as the Emperor was not directly threatened by a bunch of wacky bitches whipping themselves while jacking off onto the Bible. During this madness, George heard of a convent of hyper-faithful women on some planet. They were totally devout to the Emperor in every way, shape and form. As such, George wanted them to serve him directly, as it would look like the Emperor had his back. Using a cheap magic trick, George was able to convince the nuns that he was the chosen of the Emperor, hence they agreed to become his bodyguards. I'm sure he also used them for other things, but the writers don't really go there. They were trained within an inch of their life, brainwashed with the religious fervour so much that they basically made them unbreakable super soldiers. They were then equipped with Sermite power armor and bolters, hence making them a genuine match for Astartes, at least in ranged combat anyway. Eventually the galaxy rose up against Van Dyer, and instead of fixing his ways or attempting to gain new allies, Van Dyer declared all Astartes and Martians to be traitors and heretics, then locked himself in his palace with a couple of thousand Sisters of Battle to protect him and probably help him relieve some tension. Don't worry baby, the Emperor said it was okay. The Astartes were like, fuck this bitch, and drop-potted straight at the palace. However, they were actually held back by the Sisters of Battle. To the credit of the sisters, the Astartes literally couldn't get through to the palace, hence the battle was drawn out for months. The Sisters of Battle outnumbered the Astartes and matched them in firepower, armor and determination. The sisters' faith in the Emperor also pushed them beyond normal limits, as they would just never give up. Some sisters' faith was so strong that it manifested as a subtle warp powers to boost them even further. Eventually a custodian was like, this is fucking retarded, and led the famous Sister of Battle, Alicia Domicar, and some of her space nuns to the Emperor. The Emperor was like, "Joke's over, go kill Vandaya, then meet me back here at night time to celebrate." Alicia was like, "Say no more, daddy." And then she went and killed Vandaya, hence ending probably one of the more autistic threats the Imperium had faced. After Vandaya was dead, the Ecclesiarchy was no longer allowed to field any men under its command to prevent a rise up like this happening again. Hence they decided to instead field and grow the Sisters of Battle to be their army, as this was technically okay. None of them were men. Loopholes OP. Over the following millennia, the Sisters of Battle grew into their 1,000 strong and spread across the galaxy in convents. They were a shared military force between different inquisitorial orders, such as the Ordo Hereticus. Basically all of the factions of the Imperium that burn anyone who they think might have caught a whiff of chaos usually has access to the Sisters of Battle. Now, even though the Emperor did his best to try and make everyone become an atheist, his time spent as a quadriplegic has actually benefited from the opposite coming true. Due to the combined belief of countless people, the Emperor can do wacky shit with the warp, including making some people living saints. Basically, an extremely devout and brave individual will need to die in service of the Imperium. They will then be brought back to life with new paladin-like powers, such as morale boost, holy fire, invulnerability, etc. Some revive with small or no powers, like Drossus. When this occurs, all the religious nutters have a circle jerk and declare them as a living saint, meaning there are probably a lot of battles that involved this warp fuckery. However, the Inquisition didn't notice them, so they weren't given the superficial title of living saint, if that makes sense. The most famous of all these saints was Saint Celestine, who was also overpowered as shit. The living saints are basically greater demons of the Emperor, so they can't actually die. In saying that though, she has to obey similar rules, i.e. lots of faith and a lot of warp fuckery. She was once a humble sister repenter, who got absolutely repented to death along with her Sisters of Battle. But she survived, and continued to fight the good fight. Not quite yet the literal angel of death we know her as, but definitely glowing a little bit. She then insisted that they travel to some frozen shit planet, where she recovered some extremely sacred and holy artifacts, namely Golden Power Armor and the Ardent Blade. With these artifacts she went from a level 30 thug to a level 100 Mafia boss. She fought hard for the Imperium in this state, until she got Allah Akbar'd by some chaos dude who suicide nuked himself while fighting her. She was blown to smithereens, however just like greater demons, she could come back to life if the Emperor desired it, after a certain amount of time. And come back she did. She was basically the Sisters of Battle's version of the Sanguinor. Pop in, save the day, then fuck off. Eventually she would stop being a little elusive bitch when Abaddon the shit cunt attempted to conquer Cadia for like the 13th time. She brought with her a bunch of Sisters of Battle and helped turn the tide of battle, even engaging Abaddon in a 1v1. An interesting point to note is that when Cole activated the Necron pylons and cleansed the warp from Cadia, the demons were banished and Saint Celestine was weakened, but not banished. This is due to the Emperor empowering the souls of mortals to create his warp entities rather than just making them out of warp stuff. Celestine would go on to stab Abaddon, causing him to run away and drop a Blackstone fortress on Cadia, because he's a really sore loser. Celestine would then go on to help guide the survivors of Cadia to Gulliman, where they would then resurrect him. She then went with them to Terra, where G-Man had a heart-to-heart with Daddy, and she swore she would fight with him to save the Imperium. And she did okay until she met Khan the Betrayer, who killed the shit out of her. But yeah, holy demon, she'll be back. Just like how the Space Marines are separated into distinctive chapters, the Sisters are separated into orders, meaning players who use them on tabletop can kinda just make their own order if they want. The 6 main ones are the Argent Shroud, genuine space paladins who are actually pretty good people. Think of them as the salamanders of the Sisters. Ebon Chalice, Vanilla Hose who wear white and black armor, Sacred Rose who like to engage in tactical warfare instead of autistically screeching, "For the Emperor!" and then Naruto running at greater demons. The Blood Rose, who are the order who autistically screech, "For the Emperor!" and Naruto run at greater demons. Our Martyred Lady, the poster girl Ultramarines of the Sisters, the order that Saint Celestine is from, and then there's the Valorious Heart, who feel really bad about the whole Vandaya situation, hence regularly punish themselves and go all fanatical. Now with all their faith and willpower, can the Sisters fall to chaos? Or are they just like the Custodes, Grey Knights and Sisters of Silence who cannot fall? Well, it turns out they can, but it's extremely difficult and doesn't happen often. The most famous case being Muriel Sabatier, whatever the fuck her name is, who was taken prisoner by the Emperor's children. Now, rape jokes aren't really funny, but sadly for Muriel, she was taken by the Emperor's children, and well, it wasn't really a joke for her. After only a couple of days, she had embraced Slaanesh, which I can only assume meant she was suffering from a severe case of repressed Catholic girl syndrome, as well as the fact that she was probably fed a diet of drugs and dick during her captivity. She then went on to go on mass killings and eventually killed some of her previous sisters. After that, she kind of vanished from the lore, however states she is hunting Eldar, as that is Slaanesh's preferred meal. Other fallings don't really count, as it was either temporary due to manipulations or from straight up mind control. I kinda hope Miriel pops up again at some point, because she has a lot of potential as a character. I also got hentai commissioned of it for my Patreon, so there's some lore friendly shit for you there. In recent times, the Sisters of Battle have been getting a decent amount of love from Games Workshop, with plenty of new models and rules to flesh out their faction once again. This also brings us to today's debate. Are the Sisters of Battle actually hot or not? Well, just like anything, you have fit chicks and ugly bitches. The reality is, due to their strict diets, lots of exercise, and hectic levels of faith, they are as good as they can look. Now, you can't polish shit, but all of them are in great shape, so that's a tick. I think it just boils down to Games Workshop's inability to make a miniature model without an autistic facial expression. Overall, the Sisters of Battle will be the ones that do you, doggy. They'll beat you to an inch of your life and you'll love every second of it. With thighs that could crush watermelons, these holy thots purge the galaxy of its heresy with nothing but bolters, power armor, and unbreakable faith in the Emperor. And that does us for today, guys. All the lore and plot of the Sisters of Battle that really matters. I expect their lore to continue to be fleshed out more and more soon due to how many conflicts they're engaging in at a time. I think they're a great way to represent girls in a very high octane bang bang franchise. If you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. As I said, we're so close to hitting a big milestone for me, so if you want to see us get there, only $1 helps me out a shitload. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.